So I've been recruiting for about 12 years and construction for 10 and now running my own business for about 7. And one of the things that I'm really coming to grips with is that when a client hires us to help them make a hire, that's not really the goal. The hire itself is not the goal. It's the outcome that they're going to expect to accomplish from the hire. That's the real goal. So a lot of times this is around success of the project, success of the business, growth of the business. I mean, there can be different ways to frame that overall goal, but the clients want to achieve more in their business. And this is one of the recruiting is one of the ways that you can do that. But one of the things that I've learned in that is that recruiting is really just a sliver of the process that it takes to achieve real, sustainable, durable, strategic level growth in a business. And that lives in an ecosystem with leadership, compensation, culture, development, and the strategy for the growth of the business, really good systems and processes, a career track, and probably other things I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. And recruiting is a piece of that, right? Emotional intelligence and leadership is another thing, self-awareness, others awareness, the ability to manage conflict. And so sometimes we see hiring authorities reach out to us to help them accomplish a hire. And, they're looking for the unicorn that's going to unlock this growth in their business. And that's an exciting thing. We want to be a part of that journey with them. But one thing I've realized somewhat painfully is that sometimes we are being leaned on as the solution to that growth. Like if we hire a candidate through Ambassador Group that's good enough, they're going to be good enough to compensate for all these other weaknesses, process, leadership, culture, what have you in the business. And it's not true. And it's not to say that you can't find people that can work around certain weaknesses, particularly if those are disclosed up front in the interview process and you hire for people who can help you overcome those weaknesses. But a lot of hiring authorities don't have that level of self-awareness, or the organization doesn't have that level of self-awareness. And the candidate kind of gets this interview veneer. Everything's great here. Our culture is great. We're like a family, blah, blah, blah. And then they join and it's not as good. And sometimes these hires don't end up in success, not because it wasn't the right hire, but because there's a lack of ecosystem to support this hire and support the broader growth goals strategically. And like another way to think about this analogy wise is, if you want to go recruit and hire an incredible player like LeBron, you need a team and an operation that is ready to play at LeBron's level. And so sometimes I see organizations swinging at hires that the leadership and process and overall organization of the business is just not ready to support. And so you get an A player joining maybe a B level organization, which is fine for them to be a B level organization, but they don't know that, right? Maybe they've got a bunch of ego invested. Maybe they're not self-aware. And you've got an A player who comes in, and A players don't like working with B players who don't want to grow. And so you're headed for some kind of divergence in alignment, in a hire like that. So my encouragement to any hiring authorities thinking about using a recruiter to achieve some level of strategic growth is wonderful. It can be a major game changer to access all of this talent and process support that Ambassador can give you. And also just recognize that success exists within an ecosystem that you largely control within the leadership of your business. And there's a range of other support and consultants that we have access to and can make referrals to that can help you with your construction operations, that can help you with emotional intelligence in your leadership and in your team, behavioral assessments. My advice to you, if you're considering Ambassador Group to help you enable strategic growth is excellent, amazing. We love going on this journey with leaders, and also recognize that we are not a one-stop shop to enabling the strategic growth for your business. And there's many other aspects of your business that must be aligned and improved to make hires ultimately successful. And so a lot of times we also encounter clients when they're in these growth stages and sometimes in a bit of pain, meaning they've grown, they've taken on projects, maybe they've had turnover and they need a solution sooner than later. And so now their back is up against the wall. They need this person, and it's a bit of a recipe for disaster because we're all under the gun. There's a lot of time pressure. We're not necessarily putting the time that we really need to into the interview strategy and making sure that we have full alignment, and people are making hasty decisions. And it's not for Ambassador Group to tell a client that they're not allowed to hire someone, but sometimes I see clients taking risks that just simply aren't worth it. And if I can just say, do your due diligence on your people, because leaders, there's nothing more important than gatekeeping and getting the right people in your business, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And think about what is the whole spectrum, the whole ecosystem of areas of your business that you really need to optimize, right? Your leadership, your servant leadership is the most important quotient in your business. Your ability to handle diversity in people, to lead with clarity, to conduct change management. You can't hire a superintendent who's good enough to deal with a lousy leader. That lousy leader is creating problems that the quality of the superintendent or project manager, or whoever you want to hire, the candidate may be repelled at the end of the day by a weak leader. And so you really got to think and get to think holistically about the health of your organization in order to pull off a really good hire with a recruiter and get maximum value from the investment you make.